What's up, everybody? Welcome to today's edition of Everyday Discipline, where we decode, deconstruct, and reverse engineer self-discipline for you to get whatever it is you want in your life. My name is Brent Kokel. I am your host. As always, I love it when you guys are here with me. It means something about you. It means that you want something better for yourself. You want to change. You want to transform your own life. And you want to do that in a number of different ways. This isn't just about business. This isn't just about your relationships. This isn't just about your body. This isn't just about your spirituality and your connection with God. This is about all of those things. Because discipline is the path to get whatever it is that you want. And I truly believe that. And because you're here on this show, it means that's what you're interested in. You're interested in yourself. And I really, really appreciate that about you. Even though I've never met you, most likely, if you're listening to that, I know people in my actual life, my immediate circles of people that I know and interact with, often listen to this show. So if that's one of you guys, awesome. I really appreciate that about you. But even the people that I don't know that are listening to this thing, I appreciate that about you guys too. So we're getting into the season now where Little League is in full effect. And my son is now in Double A. Double A is where the kids start pitching to each other, which we've been through a scrimmage already. I thought this thing was going to be a complete shit show where there were going to be no balls that went over the plate. But as it turns out, it's like 1 out of every 6. And there's usually one time that the kid gets beaned, but we don't take bases in that yet. But we had opening day last Saturday, which in our town means that there is a parade. And this was really cool. Like, it was like a total slice of Americana type of thing where all the parents are lining the street by one of the schools and it leads to a park that's got 3 baseball diamonds on it. And we had just this really cool parade. Firefighters, the cops were at the parade, not because we were getting unruly, but because cops wanted to be in the parade, I suppose. And so the kids are walking by and everything, and my son's on the Lake Monsters, which I love. Double A and minor league logos and team names. Like, it's way better than like the big leagues, because like I think about the San Francisco Giants logo and it's the SF or it's the G, and that's my team. Or even Oakland A's, which is just like the A's. Like, we're the Lake Monsters, bitch. And that is a really cool, it's like this cartoon crocodile looking thing in a lake. And it's super cool because that's the name of our team. Those hats are cool. Like, we're all geared out. So my wife, my daughter, and I go to the parade and we're all geared out in our Lake Monsters stuff. Lake Monsters are walking by in their highlighter green Lake Monsters uniforms and their hats, and like this whole thing's super cool, right? And afterwards, after this parade, they're doing the opening day ceremonies where they're just introducing all the teams and all the coaches. They're running the bases and everybody from the Little League. There's several hundred people are there watching this. And the kids are out on the field. Like, it's all just this awesome event. And they've got this festival that you do in between that and when they do team pictures, because they do team pictures in the afternoon. Like, I think the parade started like at 9 and the pictures were like at 1:30, which is a long time for kids. But they've got bounce houses, they've got shaved ice, they've got portable laser tag, which I thought was super cool. And they've got just the park there that you can go play in. And you know, one of the things that my son wanted to do is he wasn't interested in the laser tag. He wasn't interested in the bounce houses. He just wanted to go play at the park because this park was by the school he used to go to prior to California schools going nuts. And now he's in a different school that much more fits in with his mother and my's ideals and morals. But in any event, he wants to go play at this park. And so he's over there playing at the park, and there's a bunch of kids that are playing at the park. And one of them is one of his teammates, this little girl named Addie, who just got this giant smile on her face and actually hits the shit out of the ball. Like, she might be the best hitter on our team. It's insane. So she's really, really, really good. And so in any event, they're playing tag and they're running around, and my son's wearing his Lake Monsters hat and he's running and his hat falls off, and he doesn't notice this because he's 8 and he doesn't give a fuck. And he's running around and the hat's on the ground and he keeps on going. And this other girl that was playing at the park with them tried to pick up the hat and put it on her head. Now, I'm watching this from a bench probably like 20 meters away, and Addie, his teammate, goes up to the girl that was trying to get his Lake Monsters hat and goes, no, that's my teammate's hat. And she grabs the hat, Addie does, and goes and delivers it back to my son. And she does this, and I'm sitting there going like, isn't that cool? And here's the lesson, guys. I mean, it's a simple lesson, but you can't do it alone. Like, you can't do whatever you're trying to do alone, which is a total egocentric thing. I used to be the chief violator of this, which is like, I can do it alone. I can totally do that alone. I'm smart. I got wisdom. Like, I can bowl alone. Like, let's go. But in reality, you can't. Because the bigger the thing that you're trying to do, it obviously requires you. You've got to be a big part of it, but you simply can't do it alone. I think about this, like, and it really applies in, as I looked at it, it was like, man, this applies in every area of my life, and maybe it'll apply in every area of your life too. And if it doesn't, maybe this is the episode that's going to get you a little bit of a shift that starts thinking differently, and your thoughts is the precursor to your actions, which means you might be acting a little bit differently after this episode too. But I think about this lesson in body. You can't do it alone. Like, when we think about that, you're like, well, wait a second. How can I not do that alone? Because it's really about me. Nobody's going to have a six-pack but me, or nobody's going to be fat but me if I do this work or don't do this work. Nobody's going to have, like, this is my body. This is my vessel. You don't get to be a part of it. But you can't do it alone. And I look at myself, and it's funny, I was like, the memories on your phone, like the pictures, it'll show up. And there was a memory from 6 years ago, which was me doing an individual sport, which was obstacle course racing, long endurance, like run up and down a ski hill, shit like that. And it was my body in that. And then it was funny because then my daughter was scrolling through some pictures on my phone, and there was something recent where I was at a CrossFit event, and my body now versus my body then is night and day difference, right? I feel like I look better now than I did 6 years ago, which is kind of weird because I'm 43 now, and you'd think that I'd be going downhill, but it feels like I'm getting better. And that has everything to do with this lesson that we're talking about on the show right now, which is you can't do it alone. Obstacle course racing, individual sport. You go out and you run alone. You do the obstacle course race alone. There's nobody else. There's people around, but nobody's really pushing you because you don't know the people that are on the obstacle course race. And you're like, oh, I don't know, whatever, dude. You run ahead of me, you run behind me. It makes no real difference because you don't really know them. CrossFit, though, is entirely different because all of that has a lot of people around. Like, I worked out this morning with 13 people. And a lot of people at the gym. And when there's more people around, it makes me competitive, gives me more energy, and makes me want to go harder and faster than I would go on my own, because I have done gyms where you put the headphones in, you put your weight gloves on, and you just go and you work out on your own and don't even talk to anybody. Most of the time, you don't even make eye contact with other people. You can't do this alone. I think about this in spirituality too, which is a big deal. Like, you can't do that on your own because, what is it? Where more than one are gathered in his name, so he is there, or something along those lines. I know I'm paraphrasing that, and shame on me for not being able to quote that particular verse of the Bible, but like, you have to be around other people. You don't get to do that on your own, because if you're doing that on your own, then you're withholding. Like, you're withholding whatever your revelation is. You're withholding your walk with God for just you. When every time I sit there and I talk to somebody about their spiritual experience, I wind up getting something out of it. And so you can't do that part alone. Same thing with your family, obviously. Like, there's a lot of times where I'm just like, listen, guys, I just want to be left alone. I just want everybody to get out of the house and leave me alone. Take the dog with you when you go. Like, I just want to be left alone. But really, it's like I miss them when they go. Like, they drive me crazy sometimes, but I miss them when they go, or I miss them when I'm on the road and traveling and all that. And it's just like, it's so different when you recognize, like, really, you can't do this alone. You might desire times of being alone, but you can't do it alone. And I think the biggest place this shows up for me, like the biggest place, is inside of business. Because for 12 years, my first 12 years in business, I did it completely alone. I didn't have any coaches. I didn't have any mentors. I didn't even have any like peer groups that I would go to. I would just go try to do things alone. And, I mean, it worked out. And looking back on it, you think about like what you would have done then versus what you're capable of now. And it's like, I could have gone a lot faster had I known now what I knew then. But then again, I don't know that I would know now what I knew then if I didn't have these experiences. But what changed for me, and what ultimately led me to a really good place, is that I found a group, and then I found a mentor. Like, if you don't have a group of peers, that you meet with consistently, and I'm talking like every week, then you're going to struggle because you just will. Trying to do this alone, because people don't recognize how hard it is to have your own business, let alone be an entrepreneur, because there are people who own their own businesses that are not entrepreneurs. There's a very different thing that goes on between those two things. But when you try to do it alone, it is so hard. It's hard to motivate yourself. It's hard to inspire yourself. It's hard to get up and do the work that you don't want to do every day because there's nobody else there to do it. It's difficult to grow because you haven't done it before. How is it that this is going to happen? You need to find people who are ahead of you. And so when I found groups, I started going to these groups, and I would learn something every single time I went to the group. And every single time I went to the group, like if I were to equate it to dollars, I would venture to guess that every single group meeting that I went to for 3 years paid me back about 50 grand. Like every meeting that I went to, that's roughly income to me. Same thing when it came to mentors, which actually pushed the game further way faster than the groups did, because now what I was doing was I was actively seeking people who were ahead of me in the different places that I wanted somebody to be ahead of me. I wanted to find somebody that was ahead of me in business, and I'm always looking for people that are ahead of me in business to pay for their advice because they've figured out something that I haven't figured out. And I'm not even under the guise of telling myself that, oh, I could figure it out. It might just take me longer. That's not a guarantee. That's not a guarantee at all. But knowing somebody has figured it out and is willing to share it with me, even when I pay them, and as a matter of fact, I like paying them because it makes me that much more engaged in doing the things that we're talking about, like what that they're talking about with me. But they've solved it, and I want to solve that problem. So I'm always looking for people who are ahead of me in business. I'm looking for people who are ahead of me in body, in how I am trying to live my life and what I'm trying to do, that know more than me, that specialize in that studied that. Like I want to find people that are ahead of me. And so I have relied for the past 2.5 years now very heavily on mentors. I invest a lot in myself, right? I invest almost $100,000 a year in myself, meaning that I hire coaches and mentors with that to help guide me and pull me along the way. And you might hear that and think like there might not be a version of you right now that fathoms you being able to do something like that, or that would even be a smart thing to do. But I can tell you just from my experience, that has paid back itself 10 times. Like it pays it back itself 10 times every single year that I've done it. And you've got to be willing to go all in and be willing to do this work, but recognizing that you can't do it alone and that you need other people to help you along whatever path it is, then man, I can't emphasize that enough. So what I'm going to call you guys to do at the end of this episode here is actually 2 things today. The first thing that I want you to do is I want you to analyze your life in body, in balance, in business, and in being, and ask yourself, where have I been trying to play it alone? All right, that's part 1. Part 2 I want you to do is I want you to start the process of finding other people who can help you. Now, this might be a group for you of just other peers that you've got. This could be peers in the gym. This could be peers in business, like wherever you are on the spectrum. Some people aren't going to have money to invest in themselves. I get that. Look for a group. There are groups all over the place. You can probably find groups on Facebook or Meta or whatever they're calling it now. You can do that. Okay, if you're beyond that and you're like, listen, I've been part of a group, I've been part of a paid group, find somebody who's ahead of you, wherever you want to be, and start investing in yourself. If you have not done that yet, if you have not invested in yourself, that is what is ultimately going to unlock a lot of things for you. So there are your 2 calls to action for today's episode. As always, I want you to do those things and do them quickly. Don't put it off, because when you put it off, all you're going to do is talk yourself out of doing what you already know you need to do. So take this action within the next 24 hours, okay? Okay. I'm going to act like you responded to that. All right, guys, that's it. That is the show for the day. Hey, if you got something out of this and it's something that you feel like somebody you know would benefit from hearing this message, just share the show with them. Copy the link, send it to them in a text, and give them the benefit of what you just heard. and hopefully it will open up something for them, because ultimately what this show is about is simply about opening up different perspectives and new ideas that are going to help you get more of the things that you want in your life, primarily just through doing them. I mean, that's really what discipline is just doing the things that you already said that you would do. So that is my ask for you guys today. Please do that for me if you got something out of the show and you feel like somebody else that you know would wind up benefiting from it. Just copy the link, send it to them in a text, and that is all you need to do. All right, guys, that is all for today. I'm going to do my job and come back next time. I want you to do your job and you come back too.